Good morning, children. Welcome back to English online classes. Today is the day 9 session. In the previous session, that is in the day 8 session, I explained you about how the German soldiers one by one came, and after that this Macpherson also was very astonished to see the German soldiers coming one by one. After that, a man came, his name was Hans Wolf. He just introduced himself to Macpherson, that he was from Düsseldorf, and he liked to play cello very much on the orchestra, and he also wished him happy Christmas. And even Jim Macpherson also introduced himself that he was from Dorset and he was a school teacher. And that time Hans Wolf was very happy. Oh, Dorset, I like Dorset very much. And he said, and both were sharing that that snaps and sausages. When they're talking with each other, Hans Wolf said that he was that he liked Dorset very much, and Jim Macpherson he wondered how this man he was born in German, then too he was speaking English very fluently. But that time he said, I came to know, I know very well about English because in school I have studied very well, and also I read many English books, so I know English very well. He told that he liked that his favorite writer was Thomas Hardy, and his favorite book was Far from the Madding Crowd. So, and he said he had a wife and a small son. He was 6 months old, and when both were talking with each other, one of them came with the football. Then the German soldiers and the British soldiers, they began to play, and one sad thing, Coney, that he wrote in the letter to his wife, that one sad thing that the Germans were playing very well. Why they were playing very well means they are very good in football, but Britishers were very good in cricket. Now, but they are playing football because they brought the ball. And one sad thing, what I said means the 2 goals were won by Fritz people. But then too, Hans was very generous. He said their goals was British goals were wider than theirs. He said it was very fair, I can say. So now let us continue the lesson, children. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished, the snaps and the rum and the sausage had long since run out, and we knew it was all over. I wished Hans well and told him I hope he would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. So after playing, what happened? The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished. So the time has ended, and they are going to be parted up. So the schnapps and the rum and the sausage had long since run out. So they were all the time drinking that schnapps, and they were eating sausages. Everything was run out, means everything was completed, and we knew it was all over. I wished Hans well and told him I hope we would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. So I wished Hans well and told him I hope we would see his family again soon. See, he said, if the war ends up, I hope I can come and see your family. Who said like this? Jim Macpherson told that to Hans Wolf, that if the war ends in a happy way, I can come and meet you, my dear friend, he said. We could all go home very happily, he said. I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides. See, each and every soldier will think like that. The war should end up and they should go home and see their loved ones. Everyone will feel, every soldier's view is like that, children. Their mindset is like that, the war should be ended happily. Everybody will think that the war should end up happily and they should go and meet their loved ones like that. So even here also, the German soldiers also thought that the war should end up happily, and even the British soldiers thought that the war should end up happily and they can go and meet their loved ones. Hans Wolf said, "Take care, Jim Macpherson. I shall never forget this moment, nor you." So what did Hans Wolf said? See, we shared all this moment very happily. Only even though it's a very less time also, we became a good friend. You became a good friend to me. We both are good friends. I cannot forget in my life, I think so. So please, Jim McPherson, please take care of yourself very well. I shall never forget this moment, are you? See, the moment, even though we are all we both are enemies, we are fighting for the First World War, then too, we are celebrating the Christmas very happily with each other. Actually, they should be in their homes, but it is a war. They are here. They are celebrating with each other. They are celebrating the Christmas festival with each other. So I think this moment I cannot forget, and I think you also cannot forget this moment, my dear friend. He said like that. He saluted and walked away from me slowly. What did he do, children? He just saluted him and he walked from me very slowly, unwillingly. So he did not want to get departed with him because within a short snap of time they both became very friendly with each other. So he did not want to go away. So unwillingly he went. I felt. He turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey-coated men drifting back towards their trenches. So unwillingly he was moving towards their trenches, and just one time he just turned his face and just looked at Jim McPherson, because there were hundreds of grey-coated men. Many soldiers were marching towards their trenches, but Hans Wolf was one among them. He just turned his back and just looked at McPherson, and again he put his head before the way, and just he was marching toward the trenches. That might back in our dugouts. Dugouts means a shelter for soldiers made by digging a hole in the ground and covering it, children. A just dugout, a hole, because to get away from the enemies, to save their life from enemies, they just dig a hole, children. So these British soldiers also, after that they also came back to the trenches, that is the dugouts. We heard them singing a carol. So that night what happened? They came back to their holes, that is a big hole will be there in the ground. Just they will take shelter in that, children. So when they are just taking shelter in that holes, they heard a singing carol and singing it quite beautifully. It was Stilly Night, Silent Night. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of wild shepherds watch. So when the Germans were singing that song, these people also chorused along. They also sang along with them. They means who here? British soldiers also sang along with them. Very sad. And then we all fell silent. So we exchanged carols for a while, and then we all fell silent. So when they were singing at the other side, these British also, they sang along with them, and after some time they felt silent. They kept quiet. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. So he kept this time as a treasure. Treasure means a valuable things will be kept in it's a treasure. So we call a treasure as a valuable thing. Valuable things means it's nothing but a treasure, children. See, he thought that the time he spent with Hans Wolf, he thought it was a treasure. It was a treasure for him. I will treasure as long as I live. As long as I live, I keep this moment in my heart. As long as I live, I keep this moment. How I felt, how I talked with him, so that all I'll keep in my heart until I am alive. Until I am alive. Dearest Coney, my Christmas, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I am sure of it. Your loving Jim. So what did he write in his letter, children? Dearest Coney, by Christmas time next year. Now this Christmas he was just celebrating in the war only. But by the next Christmas time next year, the war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. By the next Christmas, we should think it is something terrible memory in our life. We should think, Connie, it will end up. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. So today I came to know that both the German armies and we the British armies are longing for peace. So even though we are fighting in the First World War, we think that we should have peace. We should not fight in a war. We want peace. They are longing for peace. They are longing for peace. We shall be together again soon. I am sure of it. Anyway, we are going to be together very soon. The next Christmas I will be with you. Very soon I will be with you, my dear Connie. I am sure of it. I am very sure that I will be, the next year Christmas I will be with you. I think this war will end up in a peaceful manner. So I can spend a beautiful time with you, Connie, the next Christmas. So even though the soldiers were, whether they may be German soldiers or the British soldiers, even though they are fighting for the country, both are fighting for the country. The Germans are fighting for their own country and the British soldiers are fighting for their own country. But then to the soldiers feel that the war should end in peace. The war should end in peace. Then only everything will be happy, they thought. So you are loving Jim. This is the letter written by Jim Macpherson to his wife Connie. Connie means Jim Macpherson's wife. He wrote everything. He is sharing all his feelings to his wife, children, because nobody will really imagine that the German soldiers, they are the enemies of British people, because they are in the war actually. They are in the First World War is going on. During that time, in the middle of the war, the army chief, that is the German army chief, is coming towards the British army chief and shaking hands and talking to each other very happily and sharing that wine, the German wine and that sausage, and they're eating that Christmas cake happily, and all the soldiers were talking and drinking and eating very happily with each other. It's really a wonderful thing, and that nobody will really forget that. Actually, Jim Macpherson, that he'll never forget his life, because an enemy coming to him and talking to him very beautifully and very happily, that shows that they thought that the war will end up in peace, he thought. And they were sharing each of their families' affairs, both of them. He had a wife and a 6 months old son, and he was also saying that he was working as a teacher in Dorset. And one more thing was, the very important thing is, even though he was a German officer, he was born in Germany, he spoke a very beautiful English. That was a very good thing. He liked it from Hans Wolf. So children, hope so you are all understood this lesson, children. I told in the beginning itself that if two countries sit together and solve the solution, that will lead to that many lives will be saved. That many lives will be saved. If two countries sit together and talk to each other and solve the solution, there will be no war at all. No children will be orphaned children. No wives will be widowed. I think you all are understood, children. If the war, many lives will not be saved. Many lives will not be saved. They all will die. And the children will become orphaned without their father. So, if it ends in a peaceful manner, no problem. But if the war doesn't end, many lives will be lost. So children, I hope you all understood. Read the lesson properly and go through everything from first to last up to we have taught you. That is, the first part has been completed and the second part also has been completed, children. Just understand the lesson properly, and wherever you find it's a difficult word also, you underline it and just refer in the dictionary. Okay, children, see you in the next